Hi friends, welcome to English Study Point. Today in this video lecture I am going to talk about Scramble for Africa. This particular event had an impact on American literature. Many European powers during this time, first like Portuguese, Spanish, then other countries like British, French, Dutch, etc., they started competing with each other in order to amass huge wealth from African continent. They first came with an intention to discover Africa, then they gradually started knowing about Africa's huge wealthy resources, and then they started colonial project here, which is described as Scramble for Africa. Also during this time, when they came in this continent, they desire to control natural resources which lie there in Africa, and also they want to gain economic dominance over Africa's natural resources, and they strategically wanted to extract advantage from this continent, and thus they wanted to spread imperialism here in this continent. Africa consists of abundant reserves of minerals such as gold, diamonds, copper, rubber, as well as other valuable commodities like ivory, palm oil, etc. So, with this intention, these many European powers see Africa as a land with wealthy resources that could fuel European powers to establish industries there, which will automatically lead to economic growth. Then Berlin Conference was held from November 1884 to February 1885. This was a crucial event in the scramble for Africa. The conference was convened by Otto von Bismarck, the Chancellor of Germany, with the goal of negotiating and formalizing the rules for the colonization of Africa. So, in this meeting, they are discussing about how Africa, this continent, is divided among various European powers, and when they are planning of dividing this continent among various European powers, they won't even consider cultural, ethnic, or historical boundaries of African societies. 14 European powers, including Britain, France, Germany, Belgium, Portugal, along with US as an observer, participated in the conference. So, in this conference, these 14 countries divide among themselves different African territories, and then they decided to claim different African territories as their own and establish rule for acquisition of land there. Principle of effective occupation was introduced. It means Europeans had to demonstrate actual control over an African territory in order to claim it. Due to this, European powers began to establish colonies or establish spheres of influence in different parts of Africa through military force or coercion. Scramble for Africa also has its own consequences. These may include that several African societies during this time faced various kinds of exploitation. There is subjugation is also prevalent during that time, and also brutal treatment by the European colonies was also given to these African people. Then the imposition of European political system and boundaries resulted in ethnic tensions and conflicts. This event, Scramble for Africa, led to loss of indigenous cultures and traditions, means they were suppressed or marginalized, and also there is damage to natural resources, means these natural resources were expropriated means japt kar lena, take away things from their original owners, and these things means natural resources were exported to other European countries. African economies, in a way, were restructured to serve the interests of the colonizers, leading to extraction of wealth from Africa and suppression of local industries. Scramble for Africa also had long lasting effects on political, economic, and social development of the continent. These European powers imposed their own political structures and governments, leading to the loss of traditional power structures and hindered development of indigenous institutions. And Africa's natural resources were heavily exploited without sufficient investment in local infrastructure, education, or healthcare. And also there is a social impact on social development, means legacy of colonization and arbitrary borders has contributed to regional conflicts and ongoing challenges of nation building in many African countries. So in conclusion, the scramble for Africa was a period of intense colonization and exploitation of the African continent by European powers in the late 19th century. During this time, these European countries' desire for resources, means controlling economic resources of Africa, and also want to establish industries there, which will automatically lead to economic growth of these European countries, and also want to establish imperial dominance, which led to partitioning of Africa and imposition of European rule there. This era impacted social, political, economic development of Africa. After European powers achieved success in establishing its dominance over African continent, native became slaves. So slavery, which had existed for thousands of years, became an important institution of imperialism. The slaves were forced into Middle Passage. Middle Passage is the forced voyage of African slaves across the Atlantic Ocean to the New World. Forced voyage of African slaves led to triangle trade, which existed between 16th to 19th centuries. So triangle trade refers to transatlantic trading network that existed between Europe, Africa, and Americans. European ships during this time would sail to Africa, and they would trade goods such as firearms, textiles, and alcohol for enslaved Africans. These Africans were transported to America, mainly Caribbean and North America, to be sold as slaves. And when they become slaves, means these Africans became slaves, they have to work in sugar industry, different industries like sugar, tobacco, coffee, cotton, etc. And when these products end into or complete into final finishing, so the ships carried commodities such as sugar, tobacco, coffee, cotton from America to Europe, where they were sold for profits. So in this way, there is a type of triangle is forming between these countries, means Europe, Africa, and Americans. The profits made from this trade benefited European merchants and led to growth of industries in Europe, while devastating African societies and forcefully displacing and enslaving millions of Africans. Then with this particular video lecture ends here. Hope this video lecture will help you in your UGC NET English Literature exams. Thank you.